We are now streaming live on YouTube. Today is January the 8th, 2024. I'm Judge Case Johnson. This is the preliminary hearing. Wait, he's not there. Deputy, we are waiting on Mr. Mikhail Harris.
I'm clear, man. Let me make a call.
No, flipping, they have them. They have them. Well, I thought they did.
We do.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, you, Mr. Mikhail Harris. All right, we're about to start your preliminary hearing. This is the state of Georgia versus Mikhail Harris. Charged in warrant number 2023 WA18669. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Representing the state is Mr. Rogers. Representing the state is Attorney Freeman. Sheriff Freeman. Representing the defendant is Mr. Javard Rogers. Attorney Freeman, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lieutenant Flippin, could you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of state of Georgia versus Mikhail Harris will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
Lieutenant Christopher Flippin. I'm employed with the Clayton County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you worked with the Clayton County Sheriff's Office?
About a year and a half.
Prior to joining the Clayton County Sheriff's Office, did you work in any other law enforcement capacity?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And where was that?
A few Fairburn Police Department, South Fulton Police Department, and Fulton County Sheriff's Office.
How many years total would you say you have as a law enforcement officer?
It'll be 7.5 years.
Sir, were you working with the Clayton County Sheriff's Office on November 20th, 23?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And on that particular day, did you have occasion to investigate a case involving Mr. Mikhail Harris?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Please tell us what your investigation revealed that happened regarding this inmate.
A fight was called out initially between Mr. Harris and another inmate. They were on the rec yard. One was coming back from court. Mr. Harris was on the rec yard, I believe, and the victim, they pretty much engaged in a fight and both pulled out jail-made shanks and started stabbing each other.
Was any of this captured on video?
I believe, yes, ma'am, I believe so. We have cameras on the recreation yard.
So just so I'm clear, the actual stabbing happened on the recreation yard?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that outside or inside of the jail?
It's inside of the jail, in a housing unit.
Were both parties, meaning Mr. Mikhail Harris and the victim in this case, Frederick Robinson, were they both stabbed?
Yes, ma'am, they stabbed each other, with Mr. Harris being the initiator.
Okay. How were you able to determine that Mr. Harris was the initiator?
By the report, by the officer that was on the floor.
And can you tell us what that officer on the floor stated that caused you to believe that Mr. Harris was the initiator?
Mr. Harris was coming back from court. I believe I can't even remember the other, Frederick Robinson. was on the rec yard, and he entered the recreation yard, and pretty much, I guess you want to say, initiated a fight or whatever. And then that's at that time, that's when both of them pulled out a shank or whatever. With Mr. Harris being the initiator due to him coming to Mr. Frederick Robinson, initiating the fight / stabbing.
Were both parties taken to medical for treatment?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
Or any photographs taken of the injuries to Mr. Robinson?
I'm not sure. I will have to get with the supervisor that went to check on the perpetrator as well as the victim.
Okay. Did you get statements from Mr. Robinson or Mr. Harris?
I didn't personally, no, ma'am. I was the one to take out the warrants. Statements will be taken out by the correction officers.
So do you know, as part of this investigation, did either party give statements?
That I can't tell you, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know if the metal shanks that were used were recovered?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
Have they been placed into evidence?
No, ma'am. So when we get shanks off of inmates, we turn them in a bin that we have locked up, and they are taken to be destroyed.
Okay. Did this incident happen in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Attorney Rogers.
Thank you. Lieutenant Flippin, I'll start at the end there. I just want to make sure I'm clear. You said the sheriff's office has a policy of destroying evidence, essentially?
Yes, sir. So a report is done. Pictures are taken, the shanks, and then they are to be turned in, where any shank that we recover or any jail made instrument turned weapon is turned in to be destroyed. Yes, sir.
And so, just so I'm clear, is there any sort of DNA testing or any kind of forensic testing done or anything?
No, sir.
And okay, and I just want to make sure I'm clear on a couple of other things. I understand
you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Lieutenant, can you hear me now? Is this any better? Can you hear me?
Yeah, better.
Okay. What I was about to ask is, if I understood you correctly on direct, you were saying that your charges are based on the officer, I think called it the officer on the floor.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the officer's name?
Officer Kelvin McLeish.
And when we said officer on the floor, what with this being on the rec yard and everything, do you mean there was an officer?
Say that again.
Before we talk, let me ask about the rec yard. I know you said it's in a housing unit.
Yes, sir.
Where would the officer on the floor be in relation to the rec yard? Would they be actually inside?
It depends on how many officers we have on the floor. This particular day, I believe that we only had one officer on the floor, which was stationed inside of the tower. Being stationed inside of the tower, we have 360 view of the housing unit and all the sections, as well as the rec yard.
And you said that Mr. Harris, if I understood it correctly, that part of the basis for saying he was the aggressor is because he went to where Robinson was?
Yes, sir.
When you say he went to where Robinson was, do you mean he just went into the rec yard itself, or what do you mean?
Yes, sir. He went into the rec yard. He went onto the rec yard. Came from court, went onto the rec yard.
And is there video coverage? I know I think Ms. Freeman actually asked you that already, but you said that you think there is video coverage, but you haven't seen it personally.
No, I haven't seen it personally. No, sir.
And from the watchtower that you mentioned, with the 360, is officer able to see directly into the rec yard, or are they just able to watch the cameras?
No, we were able to see directly into the rec yard.
You know if they're able to hear? Was the officer able to hear anything? I said, was the officer able to hear anything?
No, sir.
And when we say that, when we say that Mr. Harris initiated the fight, what do you mean by initiate? Like, does he tell a joke about his mom? Like, initiate
No. So
the
Mr.
fight?
Harris,
Exactly.
Mr. Harris initiated the fight by going into an unauthorized part of the jail that he wasn't given permission to go into. He had just come back from court. Was supposed to report to his section. When he seen victim on a rec yard, that's when he entered the rec yard and initiated the fight, sir.
Let me ask this: when we say initiated the fight, do we know who stabbed who first?
They pretty much pulled shanks out on each other and went to stabbing each other.
So let me make sure, because I don't want to assume. So at this point, it sounds like it's not exact. There either is not a first person, or we're not clear on who the first person is.
No, it's first person because Mr. Harris entered an unauthorized place.
Right, I'm clear on that part. What I'm asking is the actual stabbing part. Do you know who is the first person to attempt to stab one person?
No, sir. Don't open that. Don't open that door. No, sir. Get over here. Get over here. I'm sorry. I'm on a. My apologies.
Understood. And we don't know what was said, or if anything was said between parties or anything.
No, sir.
Are there any other witnesses other than officer that have made any kind of statements or comments on the situation, to your knowledge? I'm sorry. I think we keep talking over each other. My fault. Go ahead. I didn't hear the full answer.
Oh, I was just answering your question. I said not that I know of.
Okay. All right. No further questions.
All right, any redirect, Attorney Freeman?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
All right, closing arguments.
State waives opening.
Attorney Rogers?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask that you dismiss at this point. I understand what Lieutenant is getting at as far as Mr. Harris going to an area he's not supposed to be in at that time, according to whatever the jail has going on. But that's a different question from whether or not he is the person who stabbed first or was a person who anticipated being stabbed. And that's why I asked about, what was being said, if anything, between the parties, or if there were any other witnesses, because at this point he's charged with ag assault, which wouldn't really apply if he's not the one that pulls out the shank first or tries to make the first attempt to stab or anything like that. Even if he is somewhere he's not supposed to be, that's not how ag assault works. It might be a violation of a rule at the jail, or something along those lines, but it doesn't settle the matter of who committed an aggravated assault. So I'll say at this point, I don't think we have enough information to accuse Mr. Harris of an aggravated assault at this point. As for those reasons, John, I would ask that the charge be dismissed for lack of probable cause.
All right, Attorney Freeman?
Thank you, Judge. We're asking that this one charge of aggravated assault be bound over to Superior Court. Based on the testimony of Lieutenant Flippin, the information he got from the correction officer there was that Mr. Harris was the initiator. He went towards the victim, Mr. Frederick Robinson, which started the fight. Even though both of them were engaged in the fight, both of them pulled out a metal shank. Mr. Harris, being the aggressor, was the one who was charged with aggravated assault. We believe that that is sufficient information to bind the charge over to Superior Court.
All righty. Based on the evidence presented, I do find there is sufficient probable cause to bind this case over to the Superior Court. Clayton County has to order the court.
Thank you, Judge. And Lieutenant Flippin, you're excused.
Top clear. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, too. And Judge, if you can give me a moment, I think we can go forward with the hearing on McGorrick. That's with Officer Deaton and Officer Taylor.
All right,
Thank
I'll be
you.
on standby.
Okay. And I'm ready on William McGorrick if the court is ready. And deputies, if you can hear me, you can bring up William McGorrick. And Deaton, you'll be the first officer. And then after that, then I'll have Officer Taylor.
All right, so for Mr. McGurry, that's two charges, correct?
I'm sorry, Judge.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, that's William, it's two.
It's two charges.
Two charges, okay.
Yes.
All right, are we ready to begin?
Yes, Judge.
We are missing the defense attorney, there we go. All right, we're looking back live on YouTube. Oh, I'm still on YouTube. All right, calling the matter of State of Georgia versus William McGurk, charged in warrant number 2023 WA 71752, battery family violence. 2023 CW 55630, aggravated assault. Representing the state is Attorney Cheryl Freeman. Representing the defendant is Attorney Jabari Rogers. Attorney Freeman, your witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Deaton, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to give in the matter of State of Georgia versus William McGurk will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You can lower your hand. Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
My name is Nicholas Deaton. I'm employed with the Clayton County Police Department.
How long have you worked with the Clayton County Police Department?
This will be year 21.
Were you working with the Clayton County Police Department on November 9th of 23?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And on that particular day, did you respond to 256 Hummingbird Way?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that in Riverdale, Georgia, Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Why did you go to that location?
We got a call about a domestic dispute between brothers fighting out in the front yard.
When you arrived at the location, who did you speak with?
I spoke with Mr. McGork's brother.
Is that Ed McGork?
That's his sister. I spoke with her as well.
Okay. And so the brother, is his last name McGork also?
I believe so. They look almost identical.
Okay. What did Mr. William McGork's brother tell you that happened?
He stated him and his brother got in an argument, and his brother came after him with one of the steel yard rakes and swung it at him. He missed hitting him with it, but hit the mailbox of the neighbor. And then he ran over to his sister's house, and his brother went back to the house.
Were you able to locate the rake that Mr. McGork used?
Yes, ma'am. It was in the backyard. We also spoke with the neighbor that had the damaged mailbox. He has surveillance cameras. We reviewed the surveillance cameras. They're not great quality, but you could see two individuals moving across the front yard and one swinging something and striking what appeared to be the mailbox. You just can't make out on video if it's a male or female. All you can do is make out that it's a person. At that time, I went across the street and spoke with Mr. McGork's sister. She lives across the street and about a house down. She said she saw the two brothers fighting and William come out with the rake and swing it at her brother and hit the mailbox instead of her brother. And then he went back to the house. And of course, by the time I'd got there, Mr. William was gone. So we obtained a warrant for him.
Did the brother who is the victim sustain any injuries as a result of Mr. McGork swinging the rake at him?
No, ma'am, he didn't. Fortunately, it hit the mailbox instead of him.
Okay. Around what time of day was this?
We hadn't been far into shift. It was still daylight when we went out there.
Okay. Have you since been able to get a statement from Mr. William McGork?
Yes, ma'am. So later on that evening, we got called back to the residence for another domestic dispute on the same day. When we got out there, William was arrested. We advised him his constitutional rights and spoke with him about it. He said he did have the rake and swung it and didn't hit his brother, but hit the mailbox instead.
And at the time, did William and his brother reside at the same residence?
Yes, ma'am. They both live at 256 Hummingbird Way. Brother lives in the main house and William lives in a little smaller, like I would call it a mini house or a shed out back.
Okay. Now, Officer Deaton, you said the officers went back to the residence later that day. Why did you all go back to the residence later that day?
We got another call that they were fighting again in the front yard.
And when you got there, did you speak to the brother to see what happened?
Yes, ma'am. So that at that point, I spoke with the victim, and we located the Mr. William, the offender, in the backyard in his little house.
And what did the brother tell you that happened at this time?
They had there was another physical altercation between them. Apparently, there's an argument over who's getting possession of the house. They may be getting kicked out. The sister kind of explained it. It didn't make much sense to me, but apparently they both think they own the house and they're both entitled to tell the other what to do on their property.
Now, for this second incident, did the brother indicate whether or not Mr. McGork used any kind of weapon or anything?
I didn't really. I got there a little late on the second one, and I know the officers had already spoken with him, but I did hear him state, that they were out in the front fighting again.
Okay. Did you notice any injuries to the brother as a result of the second incident?
I didn't notice any, ma'am. It was dark on the second one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have for this witness, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Attorney Rogers.
Officer Deaton, just a couple of questions. That the video that you mentioned, I believe you said it's
Yes,
from a neighbor.
It's from a neighbor. One of the
Is
little
that,
Arlo cameras.
you said what about the cameras?
It's an Arlo camera, one of the wireless cameras that mounts on the side of the house.
Understood. Is that video in police custody?
I believe so. Officer Santos viewed the video, and we did our best to capture it on a body camera footage on Officer Santos's body camera.
And I know we've discussed, that everybody seems to be saying that Mr. McGork swung a rake. Do you know, either based on the video or from any of the witnesses, how far apart are the two at that time?
So as they're coming across the yard, it looks to me, because the video is just not that great, it looks to me that the victim actually ducked behind the mailbox and the rake hit the mailbox. So had the mailbox not been there, he would have been hit with the rake. You can actually see the mark across the mailbox where the old rusty metal end of it hit the mailbox.
And is that the only basis right now that you have, as far as did anybody say, like, give you an estimate on the distance or anything like that?
So the sister said that he was actually chasing him through the yard with the rake. They may have been 10 feet apart at the time it happened.
And the sister, how far away is she when she's, I guess, observing the events?
So from that mailbox to her front porch is probably at best 25 yards, 75 feet maybe.
And I guess just a couple of other questions. If I'm not mistaken, I guess the brothers are approximately in their late 60s, early 70s, correct?
I believe Mr. Williams is in his 70s and the other brother is only a couple of years younger than him.
How old is the sister? Do you know approximately?
I don't know if she's in between them or she's the younger sister. I think she's a younger sister, but I'm not sure. Okay. She's around the same age as them.
Okay. Well, yeah, and then I guess that's kind of where I was going with this is, do you know if she's wearing like glasses and or anything like that when she's watching the incident happen?
I don't know if she was or not. She didn't have glasses on when I spoke to her.
Was she, and I'm asking this part because you said the two look alike, a lot alike. Is she's clear on who was who in the situation from where
Oh,
she's at?
yeah, because she explained, the suspect lives in the back of the house and the victim lives in the main house. And she was talking about the victim and his girlfriend. And I guess it's just kind of some kind of domestic disturbance about brother and girlfriend live in the main house, another brother lives in the back house, and who controls the house and what goes on and stuff like that.
And all the conversations that you discussed having for at both instances, the first time you went out and the second time you went out when you spoke with Mr. McWard, are all of those conversations captured on body cam?
On the conversations I had is on my camera. I can't tell you if the other officers turn theirs on or not. Sometimes those things work, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
But mine is captured.
And the conversation that you mentioned, if I understood it correctly, you're the one that had the conversation regarding when William makes the admission, allegedly.
So Officer Taylor reads him the Miranda rights. He was in training, so we allowed him to do the Miranda warning to Mr. McGort, and then he did some of the questioning. I did step up and do some of the questioning and confirm that he did have the rake and swung it.
Okay. And that's what I'm asking about. That conversation, is that on your body cam?
Yes, sir. It should be on my camera.
No further questions.
All right, any redirect?
No, Your Honor. But I do have Officer Taylor as my next witness.
Okay. All right, you want to go ahead and call your next witness?
Yes. And Officer Deaton, you can turn your video off and stay muted.
Thank you, ma'am.
Or actually, unless Attorney Rogers needs you, you can be excused if needed, unless you wanted to hang on.
All right, hold on a half a second.
No, I don't need him to hang around.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Y'all take
All
care.
right, thanks, Officer. Officer Taylor, just stand by, waiting for the judge to return.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and call your next witness.
Thank you. Officer Taylor, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of State of Georgia versus Mikhail Harris will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
Just to jump in, I'm not. Did you say Mikhail? Did you just say Mikhail Harris?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Raise your right hand for me. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony about to provide in the matter of State of Georgia versus William McGorrick will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Please tell us your name and how you're employed.
My name's Officer Taylor. I'm employed with Clayton County Police Department.
How long have you worked with the Clayton County Police Department?
I've been working with Clayton County Police Department for about 10 months now.
And did you work in any other law enforcement capacity prior to joining the Clayton County Police Department?
No, ma'am.
Were you working with the Clayton County Police Department on November 9th of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
And on that particular day, did you respond to 256 Hummingbird Way in Riverdale, Georgia?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you respond to that location?
So we had got a call about 86 domestic violence. We had got, they stated to us that it was a second call out. It was an incident earlier that day.
When you got to that location, who did you speak with?
When I got to the location, I spoke with Ed McGuire.
And is that the victim in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did Mr. Ed McGorrick tell you what happened?
So when I got there, he was out in the front yard in the driveway. And when I approached him, he informed me that him and his brother William McGarter got into another altercation about a warrant that was put out on Mr. Williams earlier that day. And he stated they was inside of the house, and Mr. William McGarter came in through the back door and grabbed the TV mount off the wall and hit him on the top of the head with the TV mount.
Did Mr. Ed McGorrick sustain any kind of injuries?
He had, I want to say, a small laceration on the top of his head.
Were you able to take any photos of that injury on his head?
Yes, ma'am. I just have to locate him.
Okay. Well, were they placed into evidence?
The photos, no, ma'am.
Okay. Were they preserved on body cam or any other device?
Yes, ma'am. It was on my body cam and I want to say FTO Green's body cam.
Okay. Were there any other witnesses to this incident?
The sister that lives with them was in the house. She informed me that Mr. Williams did come through the back door, and she told me exactly where the TV mount was placed, where he snatched it off the wall, and where he hit him on top of the head.
Did you locate the TV mount?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that placed into evidence?
No, ma'am.
Were pictures taken of the TV mount?
Yes, ma'am.
This also took place.
Say it again. You broke up.
I'm sorry. Did all of this take place in Clayton County?
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All righty. Attorney Rogers.
Thank you. Officer, when you arrived on scene and you speak to Ed, is the sister, she's standing right there when he's telling you what happened?
No, so she was actually inside of the residence while he was at the front in the driveway closer to the street.
And I know you mentioned your body cam in general, but as far as the conversations that you just mentioned having, is it all captured and uploaded and everything?
Yes, sir.
Did you, at that particular time, let me ask you, I don't know, is there any kind of video or anything inside the house that you know of that captured the incident?
No, sir. There's no video inside of the house.
Did you ever speak with William?
Yes, sir.
And is your conversation with him, is that recorded?
Yes, sir.
No further questions at the moment.
All right, any redirect, Attorney Freeman?
No, Your Honor, the state rests.
All righty. Attorney Rogers, are you presenting anything?
Just argument regarding the aggravated.
All right, closing argument.
The state waives opening.
And I would submit on the testimony regarding the battery. As it relates to the aggravated assault charge, I'm gonna ask that you would reduce that charge to maybe a simple assault. The reason I would say that is that, you know, there was discussion about an attempt to strike his brother with a rake. However, I'm not sure that there was any I guess groundwork laid to support a finding that the rake would be a deadly weapon, that's the only way I'm aware of that's even kind of been alluded to thus far, or that it was used in such a manner that it would be capable of being a deadly weapon. So for that reason, Your Honor, I would ask that the ag assault be reduced to a simple assault for Mr. McGuire. Thank you.
All right.
Judge, we're asking that both charges are bound over to Superior Court. The ag assault, we believe there was sufficient information provided for probable cause for an aggravated assault. The victim in the case, as well as the sister, indicated that Mr. William McGorrick swung that rake at his brother. Also, Dean testified that from the video that it appeared that possibly the victim was ducking down behind the mailbox that was hit. And you could also see I think the rake left lines or something to that effect on the mailbox. So certainly we believe that swinging the rake could be used as deadly force. So we're asking that you bind the aggravated assault over as an aggravated assault.
All righty, based upon the evidence presented, I do not find sufficient probable cause for the aggravated assault. I will bind over the battery to the State Court of Clayton County. That's the order of the court.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, are you reducing the aggravated assault to battery or are you dismissing it?
He has a battery charge, right?
He does, but what Attorney Rogers was asking is to reduce the aggravated assault to a battery, so he would have 2 batteries.
Well, actually, I was an assault, not a battery. There was no contact.
Or assault, but.
There was some testimony of the officer said something about in some sort of slight injury.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, not to cut you, I just want to make sure I was being clear. He's charged with both right now. He's charged with an aggravated assault and a battery. So I'm
dismissing the aggravated assault.
Okay.
And just moving forward on the battery.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. Also,
right.
Taylor, you're excused.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And Judge, I know Attorney Lewis had a hearing on Mr. Holmes-Sabath, and I sent Attorney Lewis a text. We've been trying to reach that Deputy Clark, and we have been unable to reach him this morning.
Attorney Freeman, one second.
Oh,
Attorney
sorry.
Rogers.
And we're still on live.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Does William have a bond at this time?
I don't think so. On the battery?
On the battery?
No, ma'am. No, he didn't. I remember that coming up.